I have Scott Schilling with me. He and I are going to dive into his journey that took him from salesman to utilizing stages to sell over 25 million dollars worth of products and services right from the stage. And he does it in a pretty intelligent, amazing way. So we're going to dive into that. I'm Antoniette Rose, your Speak Packed host. Scott, welcome to the stage.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. We're going to have some fun.
We are, and I'm just really interested in how you went from being a leader in sales to saying, aha, stages are a pretty powerful thing. To take me on that journey with you.
Well, first I became a sales guy, because, and I did that actually at the age of 18 while I was going to school and playing Big Ten football. I felt like I was going to come out with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree. What was going to make me different? Personal face to face communication ability. So I became a licensed life insurance agent at age 18. It
Wow.
taught me the opportunity to ask questions and, more importantly, learn how to listen. People think speaking is about speaking. It's actually about listening. It's actually about learning and about your audience. What that gave me, that face to face communication ability, gave me 7 job offers at times where most people were getting none. So it gave me choice. I was allowed to take the choice that I wanted. Well, in that choice, it then allowed me to be part of sales, but then also become a sales trainer. So now you're naturally standing in front of rooms, sharing the tips, the techniques, the strategies, the things that you learn along the way. And that in turn then took me to a point where I said, uh, I'm used to standing in front of rooms. That's no big deal. I'm used to communicating messages. That's no big deal. Personally, I believe I can positively impact more people more often if I do this professionally and full time. And that is what took me into the speaking world full time.
I love that. So you are a full-time speaker. And what is it that you're selling that has gotten you the income beyond the speaker fee?
Well, beyond the speaker fee comes all the leave behinds, a recording of our event. I'm gonna share a great message with you all today. Wouldn't you want to take that home with you? Of course you would. Well, we can make that available for X number of dollars per person. As an example, books. I've now written 24, I think. 24 books. The next one's at the editor already. I'm not even sure. And so, literally, I was on a conversation yesterday, and a guy said, "Man, you've got to have a book." I said, "No, I don't. I've got 24." And so he literally bought that book immediately. So you're not going to get rich on books, but it's your concepts, it's your philosophies. So the leave behinds are all the additional monetary opportunities. What could that be? It could be, again, the recordings of the event. It could be a book. It could be coaching sessions. It could be um, further work down the line as more of a training as opposed to speaking. So there's a lot of different things that you can develop once you learn the craft.
Well, I do hear a lot of speakers say they don't want to create another job off of their job, right? So that they want to really focus in on speaking and not necessarily have a consulting business or those kinds of things. And what you just outlined is perfect for those kinds of people as well. So
Mhm.
maybe you do have a consulting package, it would be more like a speaking training package. Right. So not necessarily where you have where you're creating a whole another career for yourself. Some people like that. Some people don't, but I love what you said about selling the recordings if that particular venue organization allows you to do that of your talk, right? Because they're only going to retain so much while they're there.
Right.
If they get to go back and re-listen, you catch that much more. That is brilliant. 24 books, my goodness. Um, that is incredible. And it's also one of the best forms of business cards possible, right?
Mhm.
Because they've got you right there on their desk or or on their shelf to refer back to. So, some really incredible strategies. I love what you said. This is so good. Selling and speaking, I'm paraphrasing, is not about selling or speaking, it's about listening. So, did you learn that at 18? Did you learn that along the way? How did you get, aha, that's if I listen more and speak less, I'm gonna I'm gonna be more successful.
Well, the bottom line is it starts people classically. I'm a sales guy and a sales trainer, and people overcomplicate sales. It's only four words: identify problem, provide solution. Four words. That's it. And so people get way beyond themselves. So in speaking, as an example, one of the things that you can do from stage is on whatever topic you're speaking on, you can simply ask the audience a question. How many of you have dot dot dot? By a show of hands, how many of you have? Well, now your listening becomes the process, right, of crafting questions within your talk to then have the audience respond in such a way to give you the information you need to potentially sell something later on. It's not always about sales. I mean, if you think about speaking, I say, quite frankly, everybody's selling every minute of every day, but that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Selling is serving. If I identify a problem and provide a solution, selling becomes serving. I am serving you. So that's why you have to become a great listener. You have to become a great questioner. And when you ask great questions, you get great answers. And then it's no longer a matter of, it's so funny. I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I said, even though you go prepared to present whatever it is your offer is, and you know that you're presenting it to somebody because you know you have a desire to serve them and you believe your product and offering will serve them. Even when you're all set to do that, the first thing I do is say, I'm pretty certain that we've got some really good options, some really good potential solutions, but I don't want to just do that on my own. Can I confirm a few things with you?
Hmm.
Ask some questions, and then four, five, six, seven questions later, say, based on what you've shared, can I now share my thoughts? Gain permission. And basically, now you provide the solution that you probably would have provided in the first place, but it's a totally different feel. I don't ever want to sell anybody anything, but I always want them to buy a lot from me. Therefore, it's my responsibility to create an environment for them to want what I have.
Oh, so much goodness there. And the parallel between being a sales expert and being a really great speaker is really goes hand in hand.
Mhm.
And if you go in blind, which I see speakers do all the time, and just you're kind of laying out your one size fits all talk, you're not connecting with that audience. You're not providing the solutions that they came to glean from, right? To just get some micro win that they could walk away from in exchange for an hour of their life that they will never get back, right? So you want them to go away with saying, "Wow, Scott Schilling was incredible. Where's his next thing?" Or I'm going to go grab those books in the back. Or yes, I'm definitely going to get that recording, whatever it might be. So much goodness there. You said identify problem, provide solution. And when we talk about providing solution, I think that's where speakers and salespeople like, oh yeah, okay, we've got this great shiny thing. That's what they need, and we're shoving it down their throat, right? And same with our concepts on stage. We may not be selling anything, but we are selling our concepts. We're selling
Mhm.
our approach to a problem. So how can you do that without really knowing what's keeping them awake at night, what's really bothering them, what is that, if they just had that next piece of information can get them over that next hump. So aside from asking kind of the questions from the stage, I love your approach on now. I believe I've got the answers for you, but let's confirm a few things. It's very disarming. Like I am not up.
Mhm.
He's going to try to sell me on something. He's going to try to push his theology down my throat, whatever it might be. It's like he wants to understand a little bit more about what's going on with me, what's holding me back. How do you do that from the stage?
Well, you people think that the close of a presentation from stage starts X number of minutes from the end of your talk. It doesn't. It starts from the day the event starts.
Mm,
So my speaking mentor uh, taught and ingrained in me, always be the first one at an event and the last one to leave. If it's a 3-day event and you speak on Sunday, you get there on Friday, you get there Thursday night, so you're the first person they see on Friday. Why? Because it gives you the entire time to create a base of friendlies before you ever get on stage. You have the opportunity to be able to speak to people. You have the opportunity to say, hey, what did you come to this event for? What are you really looking to get out of this event? If you could improve one thing in your life, what would it be? See, when you have those opportunities to talk to people before you go on stage, especially if you've done this, I've done over 3,000 live events. You get the ability to then say, you know, it was wild. 2 days ago, we were having this conversation. Somebody was so excited to be here. In fact, Tony and Jan told me that the reason they came to this event was so that they could hear one of the fellow speakers. And didn't he do an amazing job? I hope they're totally full, and maybe I can provide a little value to them myself. Right? You can pull together the event. See, I learned a long time ago, the promoter is number one, the audience is number two. I'm third at best. I mean, my task is to do everything I can to make a successful event, because if I am known, which I believe I am in the industry, I'm known as somebody who's there for the promoter and for the audience. That's when you get asked back. You don't
mm.
have to work as hard on marketing if you treat people right the first time.
So don't be a diva.
Yeah, I am not a diva. I don't carry diva well.
But I love that you said that. Number one, you're gathering data. So
Mhm.
you go early, really care about the people, and
Yeah.
you are collecting information as you're doing that. What you're just kind of boots on the ground, what you're hearing, what they're there
Mhm.
for, and creating camaraderie. You can pick people. Hey, I was speaking with Jim earlier, and all of a sudden, hey, he knows Jim. We all know Jim. Jim's great. If Jim likes him,
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So August of 2017, I was doing an event up in Vancouver, and it was a 3-day event, and I spoke on the third day. Well, the middle of the second day, um, be- during breaks, they would play pretty loud, crowd of 600, pretty loud music in between. And so I was walking down the aisle, and this girl was kind of dancing, and I started dancing with her. And us, and the next thing we had this dance pod going on, and we just, I mean, we had a blast. It was so much fun, and that was a day and a half before, or about a full day before I spoke. So we ran into each other in the hallway. We ran into each other the next morning. And then I came on stage, and I came up, and they introduced me, and let's give Scott a rousing welcome here in Vancouver. And they're standing up and hooting and hollering because I danced with them the day
ah,
before.
love it.
And so this isn't stuff, this isn't, I'm not sharing textbook information. I'm sharing experience. I'm sharing, been there, done that. And these are the things that have provided value for so many people. And ultimately, that's what allows me to provide even more value to them, but I gain value as well.
So be a human, right? Once you step on
Yeah.
that stage, you're an authority. So all that plays to your favor, but it can also kind of disconnect you from the audience. You've already connected to the audience. So now you're a human in authority. You've got the best of all those worlds, and they can be
Yeah,
more open to receiving from you.
well, that's exactly it. Nobody likes to be told anything. And a lot of speakers want to pound their chest and look at how smart I am. And I use these really big words and it blows over the top of the audience. They don't understand it. And I suggest to all the speakers I train and work with come from a fifth grade level because more people can understand it. And if people want more technical, you can always go more technical. But once if you go technical and you lose them, you will never come back, and you will never get them back. And in a selling situation, when it comes time to ask them for the order, they'll go, "You ready to get started?" Uh-uh. Why not? Well, it's just not right for us. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with they didn't understand what you said.
Hmm.
And this is not about you and how cool you think you are as a speaker or how smart you are. This is about the audience and ensuring that you deliver value to them because they will take action when they're comfortable. They will not take action because you're cool. It's not the way it works.
Oh, they won't take action because you're cool. Okay, you said a bunch there that I want to put a pin in it because
Mm-hmm,
so much wisdom there, hard earned, 40 years, right, worth of wisdom that you just
mm-hmm,
shared. So you're not speaking fifth grade level because you're dumbing them down.
mm-mm.
You're speaking because a confused mind doesn't buy.
Correct.
Clarity sells,
Yep.
right? And you want to be clear, not clever. You don't want to show, hey, I'm all that. Look at all this that I know. Audiences matter too. So I'd like to step into that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at a
Sure.
conference and there's vendors and there's speaker after speaker, it has to be a little bit lighter, right? A little bit definitely fifth grade level. And you can only go so deep with your content because there's so many external distractions. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to give that micro win, I completely agree with you. Keep it where I can grab on something and I can act on it even though I'm in the midst of some distracting situations. Now if you're talking corporate training, a little bit different. I think you can go, you've got, a boardroom full of, you know, uh,
You
professional people that
can
you're going to, yep, go ahead.
it well you can, but it's really it's no different. You can always go more technical if you start using simple language and you start with things that people can grasp onto and understand. If they want to get technical, for those in the crowd that want to get technical, they will ask because that's who they are. I mean, there are four basic personality types, and there's one and a half personality types that wants to know more than you will ever share with them. I mean, they will. It doesn't matter how much you share with them; they will still want more. So the point is, but that's only one out of four. The other three don't want that. And so if you understand who your audience is and your goal is to ensure that you provide them value, no matter who them is, right? If you make sure that you provide value, you can always get as detailed and as technical as somebody wants. But most people don't want it. The reality is, most people don't. Probably only about 15% of the audience wants that kind of level of detail.
Mm, so good. Okay, so you already you already spoke to what gets you the next gig, and really it's your process. It has a
Mhm.
lot to do with that. I'm sure there's some other things that you do in the background, but out of those 3,000 engagements that you've had in a relatively short amount of time, in the span of a person's life and career, how percentage wise, how much would you say is kind of in a conference setting, maybe an industry setting versus in those closed, more intimate rooms for like a corporate training engagement? And talk to me a little bit about the profitability and your enjoyment of the different types of engagements and stages.
Probably, I'm going to say two-thirds would be more like presentations, arenas, anywhere from two people to 25,000. And the 25,000 are cool. Those are a lot of fun. In the other are probably more in the training setting. See, people think that speakers train or that trainers speak. They really don't. Speakers speak, trainers train. I love doing both. Most people can't do both, or are not effective at doing both. And they can't switch it on and off. Speaking, you're a rock star. I mean, how can you not be if you're standing on a stage of whether there's 1,000 people in front of you, 25,000 or 100? How can you not be a rock star to that group? So speaking is more of the you impart something, they're going to take it, you come off stage, eh, they may or may not implement. Training, on the other hand, is a lifelong relationship. Now you're imparting something. It's actually, I love training because I love to see the flash in somebody's eye when you know you said something, you imparted something that just landed in such a way it's going to improve their life for the rest of their life.
Mm.
That's awesome. So I mean, speaking's cool. It's awesome. I've been in front of 25,000 many times. I've been in front of everything in between. It's really cool. Doesn't matter whether it's 70 or 7,000. Really, it's cool. But training is where you know you are going to positively impact somebody because you have the time to encourage them to take what they're hearing and implement. Time is a big difference.
You communicated that so well. So you've got your core message, your core solutions kind of packaged, and you've done this. You're a veteran, so you've done this quite a few times. If you were hired to come speak versus hired to come train, how do you shift your like how do you shift it so that you are either training or you're speaking?
Well, in reality, again, one of my clients said this. He said there are gunsmiths and there are hired guns. The hired guns can shoot like crazy, couldn't build a gun for nothing. The gunsmith can build a great gun, can't shoot for nothing. He goes, you're both. He goes, you're one of those guys that can build the gun and shoot it as well. And that's the difference. Now, that's a skill that was learned over time. That doesn't just happen. Um, so the point is, I'm for me, it's a really easy transition to go. The only thing I do when or not the only thing, but one of the main things I do when I get into the training mode is I actually probably slow down. I read the audience deeper. I take more time to make sure that the concepts land. And because it's kind of a more purposeful event for the information delivered. You're training, right? This is something that's going to be repeatable. Speaking is sometimes edutainment, right? It's kind of the combination of both. I'm a nutball when I do either one, quite frankly. I just like to have fun. I like to um, I had somebody say to me one day, "You're the funniest speaker I've ever seen." I said, "I had zero desire to be funny today." And they said, "That's why I think you're funny because you're just goofy. You
You're
just
not
say."
trying, you're
I'm
just
not trying to be funny. I just say
I love it.
whatever comes out of my face. Sometimes it just shows up. You know, so
Does the
you
same
gotta
amount
have
of
fun.
and that and you can't fake fun. People
Mm-mm.
see right through that, right? You're either up there enjoying what you're doing, having fun, caring about the audience, or you're trying to look like you are. And we're smart enough to be able to spot the ones who are really just trying to follow some, I don't know, some framework,
One
some
of my
systematic.
favorite memories is I don't know. I think there was about 10,000 in Denver, and I was going along, and all of a sudden there was a loud bang in the arena, and so it kind of startled me. It startled everybody, and I kind of forgot where I was, and so I looked down, and I was trying to think of where I was in my talk, and I came up and I just started laughing, and I said, "Oh, sorry, I just told myself a joke. Let's get going again." And it was one of the most fun times ever. And it was in a very, what most people would consider to be very uncomfortable. I just was playing with it. It was just a riot.
That made you even more human, right? I've seen people sadly, trip their way onto the stage, and the ones who are embarrassed, everybody's embarrassed for them, and that just becomes a very awkward moment. And the ones who just become human, it almost it's almost like, ah, great, he's human. We can kind of let our guards down. Okay, I love that. So, what maybe it's a combination, but what allowed you to finally quit your day job? Was it the trainings or the speaking, or a combination of both? Did you focus on corporations or conferences? Would love to hear your kind of ecosystem there.
Well, this is the true answer to this is a friend of mine was running a seminar company, and I said, I want to make my move into professional speaking. If you ever have a spot, let me know. And all of a sudden he called me and he said, were you serious about that? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I not only have one spot, I have two, and I'll pay you for both. I said, I'm in. He goes, you didn't ask me anything about it. I said, I don't care. I'm in. Right. And he goes, it's in Toronto. And I said, okay, cool. He goes, do you not understand what's going on in Toronto right now? I go, I have no idea. I said, I live in Dallas. How would I know? And they said, well, 8,000 people have died because of the SARS virus.
Mm.
I said, well, I said, give me a chance on stage. I'll either die on stage or die of SARS. Let's go. And so I ended up doing two talks at that event. Well, the headliners to that event were Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, founders of the co-creators of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. They came into both my sessions, listened to me, walked up to me afterwards, thumped me on the sternum. I love telling this story because Jack Canfield said, son, are you doing this professionally? I said, no, sir, I'm considering it. And he said, God has granted you talents and capabilities that he hasn't granted most people. And if you're not using those talents and capabilities fully, you're robbing humanity, you're cheating humanity. In fact, you're being selfish.
Ooh,
You need to be doing this full time. And I went back and I quit my job.
wow.
I had no business. I had nothing set up. I had nothing other than I borrowed some confidence in two great guys who believed in me at a level that I don't know I believed in me at the time. And as they say, the when I went to resign, the president of the company said, "Do you have anything set up?" I said, "No." He said, "You got any clients?" I said, "No." He said, "You'll never succeed." I said,
Ah,
that's your opinion." And a while back, we were having the conversation. He said, I think I got to apologize. He said, 3,000 events. He goes, I think you've done okay.
oh my goodness. I love that you got the full circle. And so how did you build that income where you could just kind of breathe easy? Was it selling from the stage? Was it those back end sales or was it the speaker's fee?
Well,
What's been your sustainable? Go
I
ahead.
started, I started fully, I was going to be a speaker fee keynote guy. That's why I went into the business. I thought I was going to disseminate great content in more of a keynote fashion and be that guy. And a company called my speaking mentor and said, we need a guy to present from stage. And he said, I've never recommended any of my students, even though I've had thousands of students until today. Scott's the guy. And he hooked us up. And the next thing I know, I was presenting a $3,995 product from stage. I did it 288 times a year for 6 years, 21,557 words, but I don't know it that well. And so that became a great base selling from the stage. Well, when you have that opportunity, it then lends you into being able to do keynotes and things like that. So there's kind of two different sides of the business. There's that keynote fee-based side, and then there's the sell it from the stage side. And I've kind of been this combination of both. You know, uh, all I want to do is serve people. So for me, it's How do we provide value to people, and we'll figure out all the rest.
I love it. And that also makes you a more resilient speaker because their opportunities come in all different shapes, forms, sizes, right? So you can emphasize whatever it is that you might be selling, even if it's just the books and the recording. If the speaker's fee really doesn't rise and you're a higher level speaker, right? And so competition and availability of those kinds of engagements are thinner. The competition is bigger and the opportunities are thinner. So you're a prolific speaker. You want to get out there. You enjoy serving. You enjoy speaking. So it's really broadened your ability to get on any stage and make it profitable. I will tell you one of my most profitable stages was a quote unquote unpaid stage. Or within a matter of, I don't know, 15 minutes, I made $33,000. That's a pretty nice,
Yeah,
payday for 15. But if I didn't have that flexibility of some other way to serve the audience, how much are they going to get out of you for from 45 minutes to maybe 90 minutes? You can only make so much transformation during that time. Some are going to want to go some next steps with you. Um,
yeah. I
and
mean,
I just happen to enjoy doing
that's the
that.
thing. I did a recently did an event down in Austin for a Christian entrepreneur group. They had no budget, they had no nothing, and they said, we understand your fee, we understand your value, but we've got nothing. And I said, I got to ask you one question. They said, what's that? I said, do you want me to talk? They said yes. I said, okay, well, we're good. And they go, what? And I said, can I bring books down? Can I offer, coaching, or just let people know it's not going to be I'm not going to do a big thing other than say I've got these things if they make sense. Well, it turned out, for a good group of people who needed that message. Number one, I was able to do what God has put me on the planet for, and that is share good messages to help other people and encourage them. So I was able to do that, and they took advantage of. I took three different books down there, and some bought one, some bought all three, you know, and it was great. And so again, I think sometimes people get wrapped around the uh, economics of it all. Um, my my speaking mentor said, if you want to get really good at this, you know what you got to do? I said, what's that? He goes, speak.
Do
There's
the
no.
thing. Do the thing you want to be really good at doing.
That's exactly it. And one of his classic, and I actually bought the URL uh, years ago when he said it to me. I said, John, I want to do what you do. And he goes, you want to do what I do? I go, absolutely. He goes, okay, you ready? I said, yeah. He goes, if you want to do what I do what I do.
Ooh,
It's right.
that's rocket science right
Well,
there.
that's exactly it. It was one of those. It was like, oh, that is so brilliant. And people, you know, I've written checks to 19 mentors across my career. People go, well, why do you do that? And I said, because I wanted to learn things I didn't know, and I wanted to be the best at my craft I could possibly be. Are there better people than me? Sure, I'm sure there are. Are there people that know more? Sure, I'm sure there are. But I wanted to do what I could do to get the most out of what I had. And I knew that if I could gain more knowledge and more skill set, that I could do a better job. And so the point is that you've got to, if you don't invest in you, why should anybody else?
Yeah.
If you don't do the things that it takes to learn the craft, to become proficient at it, to do all those things. And if you think that you're going to follow a mentor and be that person, number one, they're the wrong person. And number two, you're never going to be them. You've got to, I found the mentor. When I saw him on stage, I went, man, that's me. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
Excuse me.
Okay, so much wisdom here. And I know at about this point in the show, there are plenty of event organizers and others in the Speak Packed audience who would like to know, how do I find Scott Schilling? How do you like to be found, Scott?
Uh, any way you possibly can. I do not hide well. My website is scottschilling.com. My email address is scott@scottschilling.com. Uh, I work to make it as easy to serve people as I possibly can. So just reach out. Even if you just got questions from this, I'll take questions and I will answer them.
Yeah, and
Because,
I know you have a presence on LinkedIn. So it's
oh, yeah.
Scott, no tricks there, Scott, and Schilling, Schilling, for those who are just
And the
listening in.
number eight, Scott Schilling 8.
On LinkedIn, it's Scott Schilling 8. Okay,
Correct.
great.
That was
Um,
my number at the University of Iowa. Go
I was going to
Hawks.
ask, I'm sure there's some story behind that. Out of curiosity, how tall are you?
6'1".
Okay, great, great. So I'm 5'2.5", but I claim 5'3", and I dated in high school and college for a long time. His last name was Littlefield, and he was anything but little. He was 5'3" and 240 pounds. He was with the college football team, and I looked like an ant right next to him. I was weighed, I think, 108 pounds, and it was a funny picture. I bet you have a tiny whether you're married or dating or
Yeah,
whatever, she's probably tiny on the smaller side.
she's
Um,
5'5".
yeah, there you go. That is so cute. Okay, so I would like to, so we're wrapping up, really dive
Mhm,
into speaking as your business. So,
mhm.
what are some business systems that you figured somewhere along the process? I'm gonna if this is going to be a business, I need to treat it like a business that you put in place. And how do you get your next gigs? Because I'm sure a bunch of them come to you, but also you need to be proactive as well, so that you stay relevant, you stay in the top of mind, all of those things. So can you talk to us about the business side of speaking?
Sure. Well, if you want to get paid like a business, you have to act like a business. You cannot act like a hobby and make business money. Doesn't work that way. So if you're going to be a business, you got to act like a business. One of the things that you have to do, it might have been great for Field of Dreams, but it's not great for the speaking business. If you build it, they will come. Only happens if they know you built it. So you have to tell them, you have to tell people you're doing it. I made a very conscious decision coming into 2025. I am going to speak and train a lot the rest of my life. I'm going to get hyper focused on speaking and training. And so one of the things I did is I called friends, enemies, I called anybody I could and said, I am speaking and training from this point forward. I know I've done a lot of other stuff in the past. This is where my focus is. This is where my love is. It's where my passion is. I feel I can serve more people that way. And I just flat started putting out messages that I was going to do that. And you know what's amazing? Awesome people started calling, going, hey, could you come speak for us? Yes, I can, as a matter of fact. And so, you've got to use all the socials. I've heard so many people say, well, but I don't like X. Doesn't matter. Well, I don't like LinkedIn. Doesn't matter. One of my speaker buddies said it, X, you're in a crowded bar. It's just a bunch of chatter going on. Facebook, you're in a backyard barbecue. You're out there with the relatives. LinkedIn, you're going up an elevator in a tower. It's just three different modes.
I
You
love
don't
that. That's
have to
great.
like them. You don't have to like them all, but you need to use them all. Instagram, um, you know, you need to use the things that let people know you're around. Uh, for me, I believe it's about being a human being, and being my platform is really to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet.
Mhm.
You need to be respectful of people. You need to honor them for what they're doing. You got to lift them up. When you do the first two things well, then we all experience that dignity. I think we could add a lot more dignity and love to the planet and do that. So I'm here to add value to people's lives, and I let people know that. And my when the internet came out, my email signature became, please let me know how I can be of service to you, and then my name. It's been that way since the day the internet came out. And I remember early, and people would go, what's your angle? I go, what are you talking about? Well, please let me know how I can be of service. There's no angle. It's I can't control whether you accept that offer or not. I can only control if I offer it.
Mm.
See, I subscribe to the Zig Ziglar theory. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want.
Ah, you can
It,
have everything you want in life. You can have everything go ahead, say that one more time, I
you
love it.
you can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they
What
want.
they want. Yeah.
And so it's really a positioning statement. I'm here to be of service to people. Um, those that retain me and that we work together seem to like it. Seems to work pretty good. You know, am I everybody's cup? I'm not going to be the. You know, I was at an event not long ago. I mean, Tony Robbins, Gary V. We were doing this event a number of years ago now, and it's the first time I had seen Gary V live, and every third word was an f bomb.
Mm.
And then Tony followed him up with it, and I said, I knew Tony in the days when he didn't do that. It's like, why do you need to do that? And at lunch, I asked Gary V why. He goes, it's who I am. Okay, you got a hell of a lot more followers than I got. I don't need that many followers. I don't need to do that. I want to treat people with respect, honor, and dignity. And for
So
those
staying
who
true to you, staying true to who
staying true to
Scott
me,
Schilling is.
whoever likes that, bring it on. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. Oh, I really love that. And I also love that there is a mission behind your message. I think that really carries you through. There's in any career, there's going to be hard moments where
Mhm.
you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? You can love 99.9% of it. And just that little bit that gets under your skin just causes you to question. But when you've got that mission,
Yeah.
that overcomes mountains.
Let me share something that just popped up, if I can.
Sure.
For all the speakers out there, I have won 100% of my audiences exactly never. Nor do I ever anticipate I will. Do I attempt to? Do I work to? Absolutely. Do I anticipate it ever happening? Not really, because you're not going to click everybody. But if you click enough, if you really enough check the box and go, man, this guy added some value to my life, that creates the ripple. One of the things I suggest is become the first stone.
Mm.
What does that mean? Become the first stone that starts the ripple. Look at yourself as the first stone, and then you can create that ripple. And all you can, it comes from high intention, low attachment. A high intention of imparting something great for everybody that watches this show or listens to this show, and a low attachment as it is for them, for you, for me. Know that you're working to do good as much as you possibly can and be satisfied with that. Be
Mm.
happy.
Goodness. So goodness. So much goodness. Okay. Scott, the signature question as we come to a close. Um, and I almost hate to close because I think we're just on a roll. We could keep going. There's so much
We
wisdom
could.
that you're very generous about sharing. But if there was one key action that that emerging voice, that voice that wants to, they can already be established and they just want to get to that next peak in their career, or maybe they just happen to be a high performing individual who's like, kind of like that speaking I have to do in the line of my work. Let me explore making that a little bit more of my career model. What what would you go back and tell Scott maybe 40 years ago that do this thing and it is going to get you to that next level?
Well, certainly, I'm a huge believer in mentors. Michael Jordan was the best basketball player in history, and he had a coach. So you've got to learn from those who have been there and done that. But what came to me intuitively, it's funny because we had talked about this prior, and it didn't come to me then, but it came to me now. You're going to be off course in your career far more than you're ever on course.
Mm,
But the reality is, it's not about being off course. It's about being off course less often, less far, because you're going to be off course. Think of flying from Dallas to Honolulu, and you got a southerly trade wind, and the pilot comes on and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, and we know you're wanting to go to Honolulu. Welcome to Fairbanks." It's not what they do. They course correct the entire flight. That's what speaking is. You course correct. You put the very best out there you possibly can. You gain information. Best two question survey. Based on what I shared here today. How would you rate me 1 to 10? 10 being the best. Second question: if it's anything less than a 10, what would make it a 10? And you take your audience information. I wish you would have told more jokes. I wish you would have told less jokes. I wish you would have been whatever. The point is, you're going to be off course far more than on course. Just make the off less, the often less, and just rein it in. And when you do that over time, it'll be amazing. Every opportunity to speak is that opportunity to rein in the course. And so you can sit there and say, well, it's the Chamber of Commerce and they won't pay me. They're paying you in experience. Are you kidding me? Bad attitude. Speak anytime you can speak.
Okay. This is hard earned experience that Scott has given you. And there's so much goodness there. I am going to repeat back a few things that I gleaned from what you said. So it's about progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not about getting it perfect and then delivering perfect every time, because once you reach perfect, you're going to get to a next level, and there's a whole new set of challenges, right? New level, new levels, new challenges. And something that spoke really big to me that you said, you're down the road. You are a sought after speaker. You're a high value speaker. You've paid your dues, right? Why do you have to care about the audience feedback? Right? You've already proven your process, but you've stayed humble. You've kept that level of humility and that level of still really caring about how the audience is receiving and how they might like to see you do things. And well,
Mm-hmm.
why do you need their input? Right? You're wise enough to understand that the mood changes every day in the world. Audiences are ever evolving. Your message and who you are as a man and a speaker is ever evolving. You never actually arrive. Perfection is this thing that never happens, and once you think it does, you become irrelevant and
Mm-hmm.
stale. And you somehow figured that out, which I love that you shared with us. um, and those micro corrections are so key, and it really is that business consultant or that mentor level service that you've, and it's not going to be the same person all the way, because as you change and evolve, it's that person is
Mm-hmm.
going to change and evolve. But one of the biggest things, if you have a good one, that they help you do is do those micro corrections along the way, so that you're not, that pendulum isn't swinging dramatically, and all of
Right.
a sudden you're like, over here, oops, we have really gone down the wrong path. We need to get this airplane, in your analogy, get this airplane back on course. It's not a big deal if you're making those little bit of corrections along the way, so you don't find yourself in Los Angeles when you want to be in an entirely different place. So key. And what I love is that it's nothing complex. It's
Yep.
something you or anyone, whether you and I are further on down the road or somebody's entering the on ramp right now, we can all utilize those insights that you shared.
Yeah, it really, like I said, the fact is, all I ever want is people to live their most fulfilling, best life. And what I said to every one of my mentors when I retained them is, give me everything you got, and my commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my students and my clients. I'll become an extension of you. If all of us would just take the wisdom that we gain over time, you know, as we become more mature, that's code word for older. Uh, what we do is we gain the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, and ultimately turns into wisdom. And wisdom is something to be shared. It's if you want to speak, go out and speak. If I can help you, if if anybody can help you, come to us because we want to see you achieve your thing. I've been blessed. I've shared the stage with every name you know. You may or may not know my name. I can tell you all the great ones. I can tell you all the less than great ones. The fact is, if you want to do this, if it makes your heart go pitter pat, do it. If you need somebody to encourage you, call me. I'll yell at you. I'll suggest that you go like heck because the rewards are amazing. And that couldn't be financial, but just the feeling and the hugs. You come off stage. I announced to a group of 1,000 one day, I'm a hugger. I sat there for the next 3 hours hugging people. It was awesome. So just enjoy what God has put on your heart.
Love it. And hugging, it strengthens not only the spirit but the immune system. So it's all
Yeah.
good. It's good all the way. It's good all the way around. So much goodness that you've shared with the Speak Packed audience today, Scott. Thank you for being here and giving that precious resource of your time. I love that you're on the journey with not only me but the Speak Packed audience to make
Mm-hmm.
that greatest impact with the power of your voice as possible. At the end of the day, our pact together to make a greatest impact in this world with the power of our voice is what we all have in common. And that's what this show is all about. Thank you for bringing your wisdom to us.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm blessed by being with you.
And all of you, make sure you look up Scott Schilling. Schilling. He is easy to find. Put the number 8 at the end if you want to connect with him on LinkedIn, one of my favorite playgrounds. And if you want to send him or I some flowers, some love, all you need to do is post this forward. Bless another life today by expanding the message beyond your eyes and ears into others. Right. Ciao, ciao for now.
See y'all. Thank you.